There is great availability. So the masters thank each and every one for this availability. So if self cannot keep up with it mentally, release the concern, please, and to simply bask in the energy. Trusting that this energy penetrates, does it not? It penetrates through quite a bit of armor. And therefore, it is a loving gesture. It is a loving gesture. Allow us to help. Is that part clear? And then to trust that the mental body itself is restructuring, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
Humankind has made huge leaps in its mental framework for reality since 100 years ago, has it not?
Oh, yes.
Oh, goodness. It looks back to 100 years and says, oh, that was so elementary. And yet at the time that was overwhelming to the lower mind, was it not?
Yes.
At this juncture, that leap was nothing compared to the leap that is unfolding at this juncture. The
Oh.
leap in all the bodies. Yes?
Oh.
Question?
Questions?
I just
Question?
wanted to know if it holds true for sleepiness too. You were just saying.
Does it hold true for sleepiness too?
Sleepiness in this moment sitting here?
Yes.
Oh goodness. Everyone is not awake and alert? We will try not to be insulted. All right. It is very common for the students to fall asleep while the masters are talking. It happens all the time. They always blame it on lunch. But of course we know it's not lunch. The sleepiness is because the conscious self, there are times when the conscious self simply cannot stay awake. It cannot hold consciousness with the voltage that is going around the room at this moment. It is more often than not, as the students make connection with vibrational fields of influence, with beings of other voltage, so to speak. It is, more often than not, they go unconscious the first time. Is that part clear? The masters may contact the student many, many times and can only get through in the dream state. Because it is, the student is not quite ready to hold that consciousness. This does not mean to say that those that are sleepy are less evolved than those that are awake. Please release that judgment. We couldn't help but hear that. It simply means that there's a tremendous amount going on internally right in this moment.
Yes.
Yes.
And if there's an impulse to sleep or to move into a slight trance-like softness of the mind, so to speak, allow that to be there. Trust it. There are many students that have said, oh goodness, we slept through the whole discourse. We missed the whole thing. Of course, the masters say, self got the whole thing. And apparently it was perhaps more useful for self to receive it at the uncensored level of the unconscious rather than the centered level of the conscious self. Oh goodness, 3 minutes we have gotten to no questions, written questions. What other questions are there in the group? Is everyone here sitting in a state of release of all control?
No.
So it is useful, is it not, in this moment to notice the area where self holds on tightly. Is that very clear? Maybe self is holding on to doubt or distrust or fear or simply resistance. Simply notice those areas of control and allow self to simply bring awareness. There is no need to struggle with this, is there? We wish to elaborate on Peg's question. Would Peg like to simply put that into words?
The question I wrote down.
Yes.
Earlier, Moriah said
fear losing individuality or uniqueness by melting into the divine oneness, when in fact it is the fears of the collective that keep our individuality, our uniqueness suppressed.
Yes.
So could you say a little more about that?
Yes. Shall we start briefly, because we know we only have the illusion of 3 minutes left. For some who are not familiar with the terminology, when Source differentiated out from itself, so to speak, or it could be called split off from itself, except that it didn't split off, it created monad, the monad, and from the monad issued forth the oversouls, the souls, the extension onto the physical plane, the extension onto other planets and other dimensions of being. At the monadic level, there is an original distortion. Perhaps the monad felt in that moment abandoned or unloved or unworthy, or that the monad didn't get it right, or that would be lost or unparented or what have you. And that is the distortion that the self is working very hard to release. So there is a unique, so to speak, and very significant statement, riddle, that the soul is working through on behalf of the oversoul, on behalf of the monad, etc. And so when self, shall we say, allows self to try to blend in and homogenize with the collective, the way that self, the rationale that self is using for the need to blend in is intricately linked to the distortion at the monadic level. For example, if the monad said, I must be unworthy because Source has pushed me out. And so then in this incarnation, self says, because I have this innate unworthiness, I better not show my uniqueness. I will simply blend in with what is expected of me. Yes. Oh goodness. And in that moment, self has an opportunity to look at what is the area that convinces self to betray self's unique expression, self's unique being, the precision, the preciseness of the uniqueness. What is the area that convinces self to betray that? And that statement in there is the same statement, so to speak. It is resonant with the statement at the monadic level. And so therefore, because of the, shall we say, pronounced level of vulnerability felt at the monadic level, when it was split off from Source, that is the level of pronounced vulnerability when self, shall we say, moves into that experience or is working with that issue, in this case, unworthiness. Is that part clear for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, the impulse to shave off the uniqueness in order to blend in, it's that impulse to buffer self from that place of distortion at the monadic level. Ironically, that is precisely the area that the reason that self has incarnated lifetime after lifetime is to help resolve the distortion at the monadic level. And therefore, to allow self to follow that thread, that razor's edge of vulnerability, is to allow self to find self's uniqueness, ever refining uniqueness. And in that uniqueness, self sees that original distortion and releases it, heals it. And it was all because self was able to follow, it is like having a throbbing pain. Self simply tracks it. Where is it in the body? Where does it hurt? Self tracks that throbbing monadic pain as it comes forth in self's being. Where does it hurt? Where does self feel unbearably vulnerable? Where does self exercise the greatest control? And that is exactly where self needs to go. And then in that place, self makes loving contact, and all the great forces of the universe are available because everything is divinely designed for unification, for liberation, for love. And so everything is, the wind is at the back, the lights are all green, self is available to heal for once and for all that monadic distortion. So by all means, if self wishes to fall, shall we say, fall prey to the story of distortion, whatever the story is that the distortion is saying, that is all right. Self can play it over and over and over again, until, as was mentioned earlier, it simply gets too heavy. And most importantly, it simply gets too boring. And the soul is bored, and the oversoul is bored, and the monad.
That's so true.
All right, it is a great pleasure to sit with everyone today. Know that the Masters surround everyone 24 hours a day, every day, at all times. Invite us in, allow us to share the tea party, allow us to celebrate with self, and collaborate on the great journey into the mystery. Know that self is adored and cherished, and the Masters are filled with gratitude for humankind's willingness to come forth to usher in the new cosmic day on planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh.